All right, we are on chapter 12, cleaning and sanitizing. So there's a lot in this chapter, but there's not a lot that you can read through it. But you'll see, I'm going to hit some of the highlights of this so that you know exactly what you need to know. Factors that affect cleaning: type and condition of the dirt, the water hardness. If you've ever traveled someplace and you see that, they'll say the water is hard or they have soft water. It's either has a lot of pH in it or a lot of alkalis. Water temperature, surface, agitation or pressure, and then length of treatment. So when you're looking at cleaning, cleaners must be stable, non-coercive, where they're not going to, you don't want it to eat away your metal or anything. Safe to use and available. You always want to make sure that you're using the stuff that you can buy from your purveyors, and they'll, it will tell you if it's good or not. And usually, you have the Oasis product that they have. You have Ecolab. They'll give you they'll tell you what you need to use for your dishwashing soap and all of that. You're not going to just go and just bring Dawn in. But you're going to be buying chemicals that you need to from your purveyor. Detergents, you can buy you definitely want to buy stuff that's going to get rid of the grease because you're working with so much grease in a kitchen. Any kind of degreasers is great, but you want to make sure that you have gloves on because when you're doing cleaning and you're cleaning that equipment, you want to make sure that you're using some degreasers that will help eat away that grease. Because you'll get definitely caked on. And you know what? If a kitchen doesn't get cleaned, I'll tell you, it tells a lot about a chef when you look at the kitchen. Is it a clean kitchen? Is it not? I am all about a clean kitchen because at the end of the day, if you walk in and it doesn't look clean, it tells you how the food's going to be. So clean kitchen is everything. I firmly believe that if a chef cannot clean, why cook? And if you don't want to clean, don't cook. Especially when you guys get into your first classes, you're going to see some of you guys really like to wash dishes. Like I'm a dishwasher. Put me in a dishwasher in the dishwashing sink and I will rub-a-dub scrub some dishes. Why? Because it doesn't bother me. I kind of get to think and I just kind of sit there and and scrub dishes. It's a no-brainer. Some people love to do the floors. But I will tell you this, you gotta clean, and you gotta learn how to clean. And if you're one of those that you don't like to clean, then you don't need to cook. And I firmly believe that. I've done some doozies to my students, especially the ones who don't want to clean. I've had toothbrush parties where we've come in and we're literally scrubbing away with little toothbrushes. So, I've done it all when it comes to cleaning. But you got to clean. You got to clean. You have the delimers, the abrasive cleaners. Make sure that it doesn't scratch your surface when you're using any kind of abrasive cleaner. Sanitizing. So surfaces can be sanitized using heat. Okay, so usually you're going to use the heat, which is at least 171 degrees. You can boil water and pour it on for at least 30 seconds. Chemicals, you can use the chlorine, the iodine, or the quartz. Those are your chemical sanitizers. And this needs to be available at all times. Concentration on sanitizers. So you're going to have your sanitizer for your dishes, and you're going to have your sanitizer for your cleaning your area, your tables and all that, because you're going to wash and sanitize your tables. You're going to wash and rinse and then sanitize your dishes. And if you have too much, so if you don't have enough, your solution will be weak. If you have too much, it can be unsafe. So you got to be careful with that. There are little strips that you can check your sanitizer. You just dip it in and the different colors will tell you what the pH is and are you in line. And if you're not in line, you call up your Ecolab and these guys will come in and they'll check it and they'll readjust. And so because usually it's the chemical is being mixed in with the water, so I can't control how much is going into it. So if you see that it gets off, then you got to call Ecolab and you have somebody come in and they fix it for you. It's not a big deal. Temperature, that's usually, you're going to look at your heat of your water Usually, I will tell you this, when you're washing dishes in the 3-compartment sink, that is, the sanitizer needs to be cold. If I'm sanitizing on a conveyor belt or a dish machine, it's going to be a hot sanitizer. So people do get confused with that. Going through how to clean and sanitize. So you're going to scrape and remove any kind of food. Then you're going to wash the surface with your soap and water. And then you're going to rinse it, and then you're going to sanitize. The biggest thing that people don't do is the rinse. And you need to know this process because that will be on your exam too. And then allow the surface to air dry. You're not going to wipe it down after you sanitize. You're going to let it air dry. Okay? And again, I go into the kitchens, and first thing I wash, sanitize, and then I start working. Food contact surfaces must be cleaned and sanitized after all your use. So if I've been working and I'm working in the same spot and I'm doing the same thing, after 4 hours, I still need to wash and sanitize. Anytime a task is interrupted, if I change tasks, let's say I'm working on chicken and now I go to lettuce, I got to wash and sanitize. If I go from lettuce to chicken, I got to wash and sanitize in between tasks. So you always want to make sure that you're doing that. General steps, anytime you're washing, sanitizing equipment, especially a slicer or anything that can cut you, you want to make sure you unplug it and make sure that it's not on and that you can't get hurt. And then you just wash and sanitize. So when you're looking at a dish machine, your high temperature machines, the final sanitizing is 180 degrees. So you need to know that, 180 degrees. Chemical sanitizing machines clean and sanitize at a much lower temperature, and just follow the temperature guidelines. And again, with my the sinks, it's cold. It should be cold water with the sanitizer. A lot of students like to use hot, and it kills the sanitizer if it goes above, I think, 70 degrees, if I'm not mistaken. You always want to air dry. 3-compartment sinks, clean and sanitize each sink and drain board. You always want to clean and sanitize them and then fill the sinks. The first sink is your detergent. It should be at least 110 degrees. So it needs to be hot. A lot of people like to not use hot water. The hot water takes away the grease. The second sink is for rinse, and the third sink is to water sanitize. Provide a clock with a second hand because there are certain times that they need to have it. So here the manual is scrape items, wash, rinse, sanitize, and then air dry. And when air dry, you just kind of let it sit there, okay, until it dries. When storing utensils, you store flatware and utensils with the handles up so that people aren't touching what people are going to put in their mouth. So the little fork, I'm not going to put my hands on it. I'm going to use the handle. Clean and sanitize the trays. Cover the food contact surfaces. Make sure that they are wiped down. Wiping cloths used to wipe spills. You have 2 types. You have a wiping cloth and a drying cloth. So never use cloths that are meant for wiping spills for other purposes. And when you guys get into the kitchen, you'll have a soap bucket and a sanitizer bucket underneath your tables, and it will be in each station that will have those, so that everybody is washing and sanitizing as they go. Dry wiping cloths, those are to use for wipes food spills on your table. May be kept dry while in use, but do not use that same to wipe a plate, okay? You can't, because you're just cross-contaminating. And I think I talked about that a couple chapters ago. Cleaning, you want to make sure that you're cleaning clean up after people who get sick. So if people the diarrhea and vomiting must be cleaned up correctly and immediately. If somebody throws up in the kitchen, it's got to be cleaned up. Correct cleanup can prevent contamination and spreading the illness. Operations must have written procedures for cleaning up vomit and diarrhea. And it just is immediate. You gotta, if you have vomit, diarrhea on the floor, somebody throws up, you gotta clean it up immediately. If somebody cuts their finger or cuts themselves with the blood, it's got to be cleaned up immediately. So all of those things are always getting them cleaned up. Never store chemicals near the food. You're always going to have those away. You're also going to have a MSD book. It's a material safety guide that tells you every chemical that you have on property and how, let's say something gets in your eye, what you need to do to clean that and make sure that you are safe. So every kitchen has the MSD books. Labeling all your food service chemicals, they all need to be labeled. You need to make sure that you're not putting them in a container that I'm not going to do a sanitizer in a spray bottle that's not labeled. You always want to make sure that it stays labeled and it's in the container it needs to be in. Defects, biggest thing is develop a cleaning program, and you got to have them in place. Identify what you need to clean and have those chemicals for your cooks and for your dishwashers and everybody. You want to have a master cleaning schedule because you want your equipment to be getting cleaned. You want to make sure that your fryers are being cleaned out, that your tilt skillets are being cleaned out, that all these things are being cleaned, your stove tops, all of that, that you're going to wipe it down. It's not grimy, full of food, because, you know, all of a sudden things just start to cake up and it becomes really crazy to clean. Once you have that schedule in place, you want to make sure that your staff is motivated. If you've ever heard of a cleaning party, I've had many of those in my time. Whenever I've started in a kitchen, I've come in and I'm like, oh, this kitchen's gross, we're going to have a cleaning party. Best kitchen I ever worked in, to be totally honest, is we had a cleaning crew that came in at night and cleaned the whole kitchen. That was a nice clean kitchen. Loved it. But at the end of the day is you want your staff to be motivated to keep it nice and clean, and just to implement and make sure that things stay clean and organized. A clean kitchen is a nice kitchen to work in. A dirty kitchen, it just becomes pretty nasty. So you got to be real careful with that. All right. So that is those chapters. Again, today, to be honest, I wasn't feeling real well, and so that's why you kind of saw me kind of kind of just go over things a little bit. But I'll be up and running good tomorrow. But I hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.